Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Welcome, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com this wonderful, wonderful Monday here in July 2018, and I'm so happy to have everybody here with us, all of our listeners. We have a great audience all around the world. Our audience grows leaps and bounds every single week. It's just awesome to be joined by so many people. We get the pleasure of speaking them throughout the week in customer service, and truly a delight to have you with us. You're here to listen to the words, wisdom, wit, and just amazing resonance and oscillation of our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is a medical doctor and a naturopath, been in the business for a long time. When you think of her, think of a woman like with her eyes, kind of looking out over the horizon. You know how a person has their hand up, looking out, shielding themselves from the sun, squinching to see what is out in the future. And Dr. Dean has remarkable vision this way, ladies and gentlemen, because she has consistently known over her many, many years in medicine what is in the future. And she's not a person who's into gimmicks, fads, or anything else like that. She's into biological accuracy, biologically complete formulas that support the body, safe, natural ways to heal and give your body what it needs so it can be optimal performance. And she herself, being an optimal performer, would know what that's about and how to get that done. We're so happy to have her here with us this evening. I will remind you all that not only is she a doctor and MD, but she's an author. She's authored so many books, including The Magnesium Miracle, which is still, selling great guns. The only place you can get it is Amazon. If you bought the book and you enjoy the book, go on and write a review of what your experience has been, because honestly, this is the way that people are finding out that they don't need drugs and devices to heal their bodies necessarily, but what they may optimally have, and even if they need a drug or a device, they are always going to need magnesium and the other things that Dr. Dean will talk about tonight. So we're so happy to have her here with us. And before I bring her on, I just want to remind everybody that even though she is an MD and a naturopath, she's not going to give medical advice on her show. What she does do is she tells you what she would do if she were in your shoes. And believe me, that is what she is going to do. She is going to do what she would do in your shoes. That's what she's going to tell you. So welcome this evening, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Yay. Yay. Thank you, Ginny. Another wonderful highlight to my week when you introduced me. Bob's always going
Well, it was a little flat tonight, I have to admit. I was somewhat distracted by the chat line already, people piling on, clamoring on. But the love is there for you every single week, every single day, 24 hours a day. Always there.
Thank you so much. Yes, and I'm multitasking, looking at what I'm going to say next on the show, because Ginny has lined it up with her blog. And Ginny's blog, which you can see at drcarolyndean.com, is about magnesium and insulin resistance. And we had just a flurry of emails for the mailbag, people asking questions, and they're asking questions about diabetes, because when you have insulin resistance, then it means your cells are resistant to insulin trying to push glucose into your cells for metabolism, to give you your energy, to make proteins, to do all kinds of things. Well, the glucose itself, puts glucose in proteins require amino acids, but the glucose is required for the energy to help the protein production. So anyway, there's the biochemistry lesson for today. Now let's go to the blog, and I'm pretty much going to read every word that Ginny has put down here, because it is pretty amazing what's happening with insulin resistance and diabetes. 1 in 3 Americans, including half of the people aged 60 and over, have a silent blood sugar problem known as insulin resistance, which increases the rate for prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and a host of other serious health problems, including heart attacks, strokes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. Insulin resistance happens when cells in every part of your body, actually, probably not your red blood cells, but when they start resisting or ignoring the signals that the hormone insulin is trying to send it. Insulin's job, as I said, is to open up receptor sites on cell membranes to allow the influx of glucose, the cell source of fuel. Cells that no longer respond to the advances of insulin and refuse the entry of glucose are called insulin resistant. As a result, blood glucose levels will rise and the body produces more and more insulin to no avail. So it's this vicious cycle. Glucose and insulin rampage throughout the body, causing weight gain, tissue damage, and that results in overuse and wasting of magnesium and an increased risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Actually, what our new best friend Jason Fung, the nephrologist, and he might as well call himself a diabetologist as well, because most of his nephrology patients, his kidney patients, are suffering kidney failure because of diabetes. And he says when you have diabetes, it's like your body is rotting, R-O-T-T-I-N-G. Sounds horrible. But with all that sugar in the body, it just kind of melts the tissues. And he says it's like the body's rotting. Now, the thing about insulin resistance, you don't really know you are insulin resistant until it's, a little bit too late. It has no symptoms, and the symptoms arise secondary to high blood sugar. And those symptoms can be lethargy, hunger, difficulty concentrating. And we hear about the lethargy, difficulty concentrating with magnesium deficiency, and come to find out in the diagnosis of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, one of the signs is magnesium deficiency. So all these symptoms kind of get intermingled. Other signs that often appear in people with insulin resistance include weight gain, especially around the middle, the belly fat. You can have high blood pressure, and that's magnesium deficiency. High cholesterol, and that's magnesium deficiency. In fact, if you have my Magnesium Miracle book, I have a lot of entries about insulin resistance and syndrome X, and how the insulin resistance syndrome X leads you to diabetes, or they also intermingle with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, weight gain, and the basis of all that can be magnesium deficiency. Maybe magnesium deficiency alone, or there will be a high-carb diet, there will be stress and lack of exercise, but magnesium deficiency is at the basis. And people will say, well, he's talking so much about magnesium, why don't other people know about this? Why aren't other people talking about it? And it is mainly, I think, because I got very personal with my magnesium deficiency, and I couldn't find a product that allowed. So I tried to find a company that would make the product. I mean, here I've been since the late 90s talking about magnesium and promoting it, and promoting the sale of all types of magnesium products. I've made many companies very, very lucrative just because they have my book, Magnesium Miracle, to advertise their magnesium products. But I couldn't find anyone who would make a non-laxative magnesium. And that's what turned me into an entrepreneur and a capitalist, because I had to make my own Remag magnesium that's non-laxative. And what happens is when you can saturate yourself with a good magnesium, which is Remag, then you can overcome magnesium deficiency symptoms that are being misdiagnosed as diseases. And then those diseases are treated with drugs. So that's it. That's the basis of what I'm talking about. And continuing on with Ginny's blog, yes, one of the major reasons the cells don't respond to insulin is lack of magnesium. Studies show that chronic insulin resistance in patients with type 2 diabetes is associated with a reduction of magnesium, because magnesium is necessary to allow glucose to enter the cells. Studies also confirm that when insulin is released from the pancreas, magnesium in the cell normally responds and opens the cell to allow entry of glucose. But in the case of magnesium deficiency combined with insulin resistance, the normal mechanisms just don't work. However, the higher the levels of magnesium in the body, the greater the sensitivity of the cells to insulin, and the higher the possibility of reversing the problem. And if your doctor says to you, oh, I don't believe that, or that's not true, the studies are there. Seriously, the studies are there. They can open up their doctor books, Merck Manual or Guyton's. They can open up all their medical text and just look up diabetes and see one of the signs is magnesium deficiency. But everybody's so focused on drugs, they don't even look at the nutrients. Continuing the blog, magnesium is required in the metabolic pathways, such as the Krebs cycle, to allow insulin to usher glucose into cells and into the mitochondria, where glucose participates in making ATP energy for the body. If magnesium is deficient, the doorway into the cells does not open to glucose, resulting in, and we've already mentioned some of these, the glucose becomes elevated. Your urine turns sugary. Your blood turns sugary. You get thirsty. You start urinating more. All those diabetic and pre-diabetic symptoms. And glucose is stored as fat and leads to obesity. Elevated glucose leads to diabetes, puts a strain, and obesity puts a strain on the heart. The excess glucose becomes attached to proteins, and they become what we call glycated, like glucose-bound. And this leads to the kidney damage, neuropathy, blindness, and other diabetic complications, the rotting of the tissues of the body. Insulin-resistant cells don't allow magnesium into the cells. Further magnesium deficiency leads to hypertension and to cholesterol buildup. And both these conditions are implicated in heart disease. And if you have them, you get put on 6 different heart medications. And Ginny ends by saying most doctors are just going to tell you to get some exercise and take metformin, which is a diabetic drug that's been around for decades, but it doesn't cure the problem. What most of these diabetic drugs do is whip the pancreas into making more insulin. But the problem being insulin resistance, insulin is not the cure. The, quote, cure is stopping the need for insulin. And this is where we get to the diet for diabetes. It really is the keto diet, because that's a diet that will force you to stop eating carbohydrates to the extent that we're eating them. I think I read somewhere that the average amount of carbohydrates that people are eating is at 200 grams. 200 grams of carbohydrates is the average intake, and what we're seeing on the ketogenic diet is 2 to 50 grams a day. So let me just look that up. 200 grams carbs on an average diet. I'm sorry, I'm 2 days into a fast, so I'm just a little shaky. How many carbs should I eat a day? Yeah, average 200 grams. So we're talking about dropping that to 10%. I try to stay with 10 grams a day of carbs. I don't have to in terms of diabetes. I'm just sort of experimenting with it. But with diabetes or pre-diabetes, if you drop your carbs, you won't be stimulating your pancreas to make any insulin. You don't need that insulin because the body is focused on burning fats. So it doesn't need insulin to push carbs or carb glucose into the cells. So that's going to come up in a lot of our questions. Now, I'm going to stop right now. I do have a load of blood sugar questions that arose from Ginny's blog, but I'm going to ask Ginny if there's anything else she wants me to address here.
I know you have a lot of questions, and one of the things that I want to say is for people who are in the greater, New York area, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, up in there, we are going to be at the Keto Fest this weekend. That's in New London, Connecticut. If you're interested in information, please just email me at support, SUPPORT, at RNA Reset, and I'll send you the directions and stuff. This is a festival that is about the ketogenic diet, but mostly it is a gathering of people who want to improve their insulin resistance through diet and dietary changes like adding Remag to their protocol. So we'll be there for 2 days handing out Remag water and hanging out with people. Carolyn won't be there, unfortunately, but myself and some of our other staff will be there. So please join us. And also, Carolyn, just talk for a minute about, what if you haven't had a diagnosis of diabetes? Because a lot of people are pre-diabetic, and that is the beginning of insulin resistance. And, we talked a little bit about hunger. This not controllable hunger is a perfect cue that there's insulin resistance going on, but then there's also yeast overgrowth going on when the yeast are craving sugars and they can't get satisfied. So, people are really living in a lot of different, situations, conditions in their body. How would you know if you were insulin resistant? Do you have to get tested for it, and what is that like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I would look at what we call the metabolic syndrome. Because what happens is you start gaining weight. It all kind of happens slowly, and it's the weight gain. Your waist circumference increases. They say that if you are increasing your belt line, if you have to let your belt out, for example, that's an indication. So I think that's what my friend Roby Mitchell, he goes by waist circumference. And I'm looking at it now, waist circumference average or in obesity. Waist circumference is an indicator of health risk associated with excess fat around the waist. Waist circumference of 40 inches or more in men or 35 inches or more in women is associated with health problems such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. So that's a really easy thing to look at, your waist circumference and your weight. And also I would look at your carbohydrate intake. Just look and see how much bread, cereal, sweet things that you're eating. If you're eating a lot of vegetables, yes, that's carbs, but maybe 2/3 of a vegetable is fiber carbs. and you need your fiber for your probiotics and prebiotics, actually. So that's one of the things about the keto diet that you have to be sure to maintain is your fiber. And what I'm doing is I'm doing my psyllium seed powder every day for some fiber, extra fiber, where I may not have enough vegetables during the day. So those are the three things, Ginny.
Excellent, excellent. And right from the chat line, somebody's asking, and this is a common question, how long does it take to saturate your body? I think I'm insulin resistant. So what can you talk a little bit about just saturation for magnesium using Remag?
Right, and we are talking about Remag here. We have many people, many customers who say to us, well, I've been taking magnesium for years, and I still have symptoms, and, what's the deal? And when they switch over to Remag, then they see the difference because it is well absorbed. I don't have an average time personally, even though I had been taking angstrom magnesium for years. It took me a year and a half, 18 months, to get saturated to the point where my 4 teaspoons turned into 3 and then 2, and now I'm just on half a teaspoon twice a day, unless I'm eating more dairy products or doing more exercise, then I'll need another half teaspoon. So everyone is different, and this is what's so frustrating for people who, in one sense, may be kind of used to allopathic medicine and think, I'll take this drug and I'll be okay in a week. But that's why we have such a huge customer service staff, because we're here to support you in the months and months that it's going to take. However, we are very clear that most people, like 90% of people, will feel better on some levels of their health within the first week or so. And if they don't, I don't know, should we apologize? What we do is we say, well, what drugs are you on? What other supplements are you taking that may be distracting you? Do you have IBS and sensitive bowels? Are you getting yeast detox reactions with your magnesium? Are you taking enough? I mean, a lot of people just look at the label and say, oh, I'll just take the maintenance. And we put it down as the 1 teaspoon the maintenance dose because that's what the FDA wants us to say. We can't talk about therapeutic amounts on our label. And again, that's why we have the radio show and customer service to give you more guidance. So saturation is going to take as long as it takes to get your 700, 800 enzyme systems working in your body to your body's satisfaction, and where you're feeling healthy and you no longer have magnesium deficiency symptoms.
Very good, Carolyn. Excellent, excellent. Okay. All right, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here at achieveradio.com. It's halfway through the hour. I also want to let everybody know that if you're on the line and you want to talk to Dr. Dean tonight, you've got to call 602-666-6027, and you've got to hit star 5 on your keypad. We'll raise your hand, and then we will take your phone off mute, and you can talk to Dr. Dean. Otherwise, your phone stays on mute, and we can't hear you. So you've got to hit star 5 on your keypad if you're here on their studio lines. Carolyn, let's do a couple of the mailbag questions from that, and then we'll get some callers ready to come in and talk with you.
Perfect. So the first quick question, apropos, how does a ketogenic diet factor into all this? So we've already answered it. It takes away the carbs, stops the insulin from having to pop up. I mean, you think of the diet, Ginny, that people are eating. They're drinking Coke. Well, pop soda with 10 teaspoons of sugar in a can of this stuff, a can of 12 ounces, 10 teaspoons of sugar. And in your bloodstream at any one time, there's only 2 teaspoons of sugar. It's just a freak out. Your pancreas goes crazy trying to mount enough insulin to push that sugar away, because if you start getting high sugar levels in your brain will flood with water or fluid to try to dilute that sugar. It's just crazy what people are doing with their diet. So ketogenic diet takes away your carbs. Sorry. The next question, I generally eat a low-carb type diet. I do know I have the start of insulin resistance based on blood sugar levels. So, yeah, there's the fourth thing I should have said about insulin resistance. So what's your normal fasting blood sugar is 72 to 99. So if when you go in for your blood test, you're fasting, your blood sugar is above 99, that's kind of a pre-diabetic event. So back to the question. Generally, when I take my blood sugar at about 10 a.m., so somebody's using a glucometer, doing a finger stick, and doing their blood sugar. Generally, when I take my blood sugar at 10 a.m., after not eating for about 15 hours, my blood sugar is in the 115 level according to my glucose meter. My A1C measured at 4.9 in June, which is very good, very normal. But my morning blood sugar levels remain around 115. So that's in the diabetic range. It's above 99. So let's see what else this person says. A gentleman. I often eat 1 to 2 low-carb meals a day with high good saturated fats. My blood sugar usually drops to around 95 around 2 p.m. Then if I eat, my blood sugar will stay in the mid-90s all through till 10 p.m. So concern is the high morning glucose levels. What are your thoughts? Okay, now I'm not a diabetic specialist by any stretch of the imagination, but, I kind of know nutrition and certainly know magnesium. I know the adrenal glands. So what can happen with people is overnight if you produce cortisol, it's a stress reaction by having cortisol levels during the night. Cortisol apparently can stimulate blood sugar breakdown from the liver stores. I don't know if that's happening. I have no idea. But what we would say to someone who's expressing these questions, and what I would personally do, is be sure I'm taking enough magnesium, 2 to 3 teaspoons, enough remite, 1.5 teaspoons to match 3 teaspoons of Remag, and that's the average dose of Remite. And what the Remite and Remag and sea salt in your drinking water are going to do is support your adrenal glands to try to deal with that cortisol elevation that I'm imagining, and to also support the thyroid gland, which will help metabolism. So that's where I would start, and that's a starting point. I don't know, I have enough information to go further. Next question. My question concerns a relative diagnosed with gestational diabetes during her pregnancy 9 years ago, but she never really lost weight. She's been yo-yo dieting since. Side and front views are where her weight is, big belly, breasts, double chin, and only 32 years old. Still on the birth control pill, afraid the problem is too large for her to fix. Now, we never believe that. But you can't make a person do what you recommend, but the concern here with such weight, I mean, we have people who go on the ketogenic diet who lose hundreds of pounds. I mean, literally hundreds. Most people think the ketogenic diet is for weight loss, and it really isn't, but it can be. But I mean, to me, that's what a person would focus on, is a ketogenic diet. I really don't think I can say much more than that. Someone is saying, after long-standing insulin resistance along with long-standing magnesium deficiency, how long would you expect it to take to turn the ship around? Well, if you're going to do the ketogenic diet, people will lose weight, straight away. You'll lose the fluid buildup, and then, but you have to do it according to our total body reset. Really, you have to do the sea salted water, the Remag, the Remite, and the Realign, and some bentonite and psyllium. It's all laid out in what's my weight book, Ginny? Reset Your Ideal Weight, something like that.
Reset Your Ideal Weight. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's what you do. Instead of starving yourself and just drinking water, you have to recognize that your body's going to be dumping toxins, so you deal with them with the bentonite and psyllium and lots of sea salted water, and the body's really craving nutrients to make your metabolism keep going. So you take your minerals, and in the Realign you're taking your B vitamins that help all these processes, and you have your amino acids that support your glutathione production. So that's what you would do. Yes, and this person, how long to turn the ship around? You start losing weight on the keto diet. And then I mentioned earlier about how long for saturation, so I won't repeat that. Next question, insulin resistance. I'm 78 years old and maybe insulin resistant based on the description you offer. I take 400 to 450 magnesium each day. I'm pretty active. What would the saturation dose look like? So we've said that already. Personally, I was taking 1,200 milligrams to get rid of my heart palpitations that was about a year, and then I started cutting back. So you just appreciate and marvel at the benefits you're seeing as you start your health protocol, and then you be patient and allow it to play out. It did not happen overnight, getting ill, so it is going to take some timing for you to get better or to be as perfect as you want to be. Another question, I'm a diabetic type 2, taking Remag, Remite. I went out to lunch, had spaghetti, was dozing off, and really felt lethargic. Got home, slept about 13 hours. My husband tried to wake me up and couldn't. He let me sleep till 11:30 at night. I still feel strange. What's happening? I don't know. I mean, are you allergic to spaghetti, to wheat, I guess? Have you not been eating it long enough that your body finally let you know what it's like to be allergic to wheat? I don't know that the one meal is going to throw off your blood sugar and cause you to have a diabetic. No, I don't. I mean, it's not going to cause a high blood sugar to give you diabetic coma. But in a diabetic coma, that's more like when you take too much insulin, you get low blood sugar. Sorry, I'm confusing everybody. It's probably related to allergy to wheat, so look into that. Next question, I'm unable to tune in. Okay, so I take Remag, Remite, which has fixed all my pain issues. I still have blood sugar and cholesterol problems. Now, I don't know what that means, what especially with cholesterol. You know, I don't believe that cholesterol needs to be treated by statins. And if you're being urged by doctors to take statin drugs for what 20 years ago, it used to be normal cholesterol. They're lowering the levels because they think cholesterol is related to heart disease. If you want the insight on that, read the book called The Great Cholesterol Con. Currently taking 2 teaspoons Remag, 1 teaspoon Remite. What amount should I be aiming for saturation? Well, if people still have blood sugar and cholesterol problems, I would be taking 3 teaspoons of Remag and 1.5 of Remite. And also looking, is yeast overgrowth a problem? Should I be looking at that? Because to detoxify can help take the pressure off the liver, and the liver is where a lot of your metabolism is focused. But anyway, I would say I would be taking 3 teaspoons of Remag, 1.5 of Remite, and then looking at the other products. What is recommended saturation? So everybody's asking this. She says, I'm using powdered and tablet forms. Do not find your liquid product either easy to drink or palatable. I live in Australia. Well, you can take any form of magnesium and dilute it, or take small amounts throughout the day to try to keep away from the laxative effect. But with our people in the Remag liquid, people find it so helpful to be able to take something that's 100% absorbed at the cellular level compared to 4 to 20% absorbed. It actually saves a person money if they're using the Remag, and just to dilute it in water. I dilute mine in about 8 ounces of water and put in some extra sea salt sometime. One of our customers reminded me of that. Extra sea salt will take away the taste, or lemon juice concentrate. I don't know what to say to people who say they just won't swallow it. For your sake of your health, I would really try to swallow it. Otherwise, spread out your other supplements, and the amount of the 100% absorbed magnesium could be 800 or 900 milligrams. So if you're taking something that's 10% absorbed, then you're going to need, 8,000 grams. So it's just easier all around to take the Remag. I don't know, Ginny. I know I talked myself in a corner there. What do you all in customer service say to people where they say, I can't stand the taste and I refuse to take it, and I'll cut off my nose to spite my face to do it?
Well, we always just tell them to go ahead and use it topically, because it's just absolutely retarded to waste it. And maybe when they use it topically, they'll get the benefits of it, and then they'll start to use it orally. And people, they have their preferences, but honestly, and we're going to do the great Remag taste experiment at Keto Fest this weekend, because we're going to be giving away free samples of Remag in bottles of water. And they're going to have to stand there to my face and tell me that they can't take the taste, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I really believe what happens is people open up the bottle, and they take it and they put it directly in their mouth. They don't read the instructions, they don't dilute it properly, and their first experience is just nothing but pain, because that concentration of magnesium just stings the inside of your mouth, and that's not the way it's intended to be taken. So I think they're just kind of not understanding how powerful it is, and we certainly provide enough instructions. My husband Greg says we should put a red tag around the neck of every single bottle. Do not put this directly in your mouth, because I think that's what happens with a lot of people. They just don't follow they don't follow the instructions. But we'll see what happens this weekend.
Can you videotape the reactions, Ginny?
We'll have some video going on there, Bob. Yeah, if I get some instant replays going, yeah, we'll have Savvy there with the camera.
Yeah.
But just get some reactions to it. But honestly, I think there's no possible way. I mean, apple cider vinegar. People shock me. They put that stuff in their mouth. They drink apple cider vinegar all the time. Oh, can I add this to my apple cider vinegar and lemon juice? And it's like, oh, my God, please do, if you can get that stuff down. So, I mean, natural supplements and stuff, they taste and smell horrible. I just don't know what everybody's problem is with the Remag, honestly. It's so silly to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, now I'm going to continue on. I know you have probably have calls, but I think this next section I want to delve into is important because I'm learning so much from the Pico Silver experience. I mean, I'm calling it an experience. We just wanted to have a silver that we could sell that was less expensive than ones we've been recommending and we knew would be as good or, as it turns out, better. And what's happened is just with the way our chemist makes it as a stabilized ionic silver. He makes it from pure silver. It's not a silver compound. It's not colloidal. It's this ion of silver. And also, actually, we've gotten access to a silver report. You can go to drcarolyndeanlive.com, and Ginny has it right at the top, or you used to. It's the second one down now, a feasibility study of silver dihydrogen citrate for use as a nutritional supplement. So click on that report, download it, and read about how amazing silver is and how it has been ignored. And what I talked about in our seminar, Lower Your Infectious Load, I want to expand on that a little, and I want people to go to the webinar series. I don't know, how do people get to our webinars, Ginny? Ginny's busy.
I'm sorry, Carolyn.
How do we get to our webinars? I'm trying to get people
YouTube.
To go to.
Yep.
YouTube.
Yep. You go to YouTube and you look for 2012 RNA. Go to YouTube and type in RNA reset, and it will take you right there.
Right.
Yep.
And
just RNA reset.
Right. What I want you to listen to is the Lower Your Infectious Load seminar, because what I think is happening with our experience here with starting you off on RNA drops, and then we moved to Remag and then Remite. I think Realign was in there right after RNA drops, and then we added the Restructure and the Recalcia for people who needed calcium. Well, with the Pico Silver, we're definitely at the layers of infection in the body. And I used to just focus on yeast overgrowth. Okay, let's treat your yeast. And then the yeast, which allows other viruses and bacteria and even parasites to have a happy home. If you get rid of your yeast, then you're dealing with the other invaders. But with the Pico Silver, I mean, just look at my experience. I came home from my last trip actually to Ginny and Greg's wedding, and 2 days after I developed a rhinovirus cold, and I had my Pico Silver there. I hadn't been taking it. I was waiting to get sick. So I took 6 teaspoons that day, and the next morning I woke up with nothing, and I was shocked. That has never happened to me before. I railed on and on how, gosh, I can treat this and that and myself, but I can't get rid of the common cold. Well, that has all shifted. And then, so I took the 6 teaspoons for another day, and then I went down to 4 teaspoons, and then I went down a little more. I'm getting feedback. Is that you, Bob?
Yes, I'm getting ready to give a testimony.
Yourself.
I'm in the other room.
Yeah, no, it doesn't help. So then I realized as I was going down a bit that I no longer had yeast mucus. And then I started testing, doing the experiment, eating a lot of my berries and heavy whipping cream, and I would usually get staphylococcal boils that come in my nasal membranes that come on the heels of yeast overgrowth. This is what happens when you get yeast. You're susceptible to things like staph, and then we get this methicillin-resistant staph infections, which are really yeast overgrowth, and then the body can't cope with staph. Anyway, then I realized I had an itchy part on my mid right side of my back for months, and I would just be scratching myself and itching and doing all I could to try to relieve it. I'm pretty sure I was like 10% into shingles, chickenpox virus reactivation, and that's gone. And now what I'm doing is I'm playing with heat shock and cold shock. At the here where I live, I can use a sauna. Down at the Grand Wailea Spa, I can do cold plunges and saunas. Because what happens with those quote therapies is that you sort of shock the infectious layers in your body. Now, the folks who talk about heat shock and cold shock don't talk about that, but that's what happens to me. When my foster daughter was here at Christmas last year, she plunges for minutes at a time. And so, of course, I was trying to keep up with her. And the next day I got a cold sore on my lip. So the shock of the heat and the cold will reactivate viruses. So anyway, what I'm experimenting with now is kind of provoking these things with heat shock and cold shock, continuing to take 1 to 2 teaspoons of the pico silver a day to see if I can get these things coming to the surface, and then, kind of like whack-a-mole therapy, I'll knock them out. But I'm doing a final blow on them, I think, because I'm not just suppressing the symptoms, I'm actually supporting my immune system to deal with these infections. So that's where I'm at with the pico silver. Yeah,
so
Bob.
Let me give a testimonial. You know that I haven't been able to eat cheese for decades. They cause a lot of mucus for some reason, really fast. Well, since being on pico silver, took a while to notice it. Then I had some cheese and no mucus. So no mucus. Now, right now, I just raided Carolyn's half of the cheese and had 3 big pieces, and I'm not getting mucus, which I get that fast. Because I've got several decades delay in my cheese pleasure. I'm catching up. But this is not even expected. We didn't expect any. I don't know what I expected. I didn't expect this, and that's pretty good. So my theory to Carolyn is that silver affects the yeast somehow. Right, Carol?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's killing the yeast. So you were doing the cheese experiment, but at my expense.
Yes. Yeah, you can go buy some more or get your friends to buy some more. There's no problem here. But the thing is, I wanted to just have a whole bunch right now.
Yeah, just to see.
But it's ridiculous. 3-4 months ago, I had started to have some new cheese, which you brought in. I couldn't stop having it. Mm-hmm. And then I had a bad mucus thing.
Oh, yeah. I was complaining all over your radio shows.
Yeah.
You were sounding like an old dying man,
yeah,
hacking and spewing. Yeah.
And it's not happening anymore, so that's pretty good, eh, Ginny?
I think it's absolutely awesome, Bob. It's absolutely incredible.
Okay, good. Thanks, Bob. Mute yourself. Okay, Ginny, we only have a few minutes, but yeah, this has been a great hour. About the blood sugar, about underlying infections. I think it's just incredible how each new product or the diet, the keto diet came along, and we jumped on that, and it just fits so perfectly in what we're doing and how we can help support people on the keto diet and intermittent fasting. I think it's awesome.
Yep, it really is awesome. And the thing that I love about the keto diet, and one thing that I get nervous about is when people say I'm on a low-carb diet, because to me that means lower than I would usually eat. But that still doesn't necessarily accomplish the ketogenic effect, which is to switch your body from glucose burning to keto burning, ketones. And if you want to deal with insulin resistance, you have to stop the flood of glucose going into your cells and to provide your body a different fuel. And so that objective of going to keto is basically a declaration about how many carbs you're going to commit to resisting every day, because a true keto diet is 20 carbs or less, period. And that means you're getting your carbs from only vegetables, and they're, not the root vegetables and things. And so really you are committing to eating a lot of animal proteins and that kind of thing, and oils and fats and things from, coconut oil and things, as you know, Carolyn. When you do that, then you really are now giving your body a rest. Your pancreas can rest. Your cells can rest. The inflammation can start to subside. And then over a span of timing, that's when you start to lower your insulin resistance. But let me also say that you can make certain changes, at a certain threshold of change through diet, but not without magnesium. You've got to have the magnesium, and this is the reason we're going to the Keto Fest, is to bring open this can of whoop-ass on these folks up there and let them know, look, talk about diet all you want and go crazy as a foodie, making all the diet, neat adaptations. There's so many neat adaptations in the keto world, how to make pizza dough and different things. I mean, it's fun, but get your magnesium into your cells, because even if you call off the dogs and pull the glucose off out of your bloodstream and shift to ketones and keto burning, you are still not going to address your magnesium deficiency without REMAG. And I think that almost has to be our blanket statement about we talk a lot about magnesium, but honestly, I think we really have to start saying you're not going to do it without REMAG, because the magnesium that a lot of people taking are not being properly absorbed, or they still wouldn't, be in the situations that they're in, some of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
now,
Bob's
we do
been
have
saying
callers
that for a while.
Yeah, Bob has been saying that. Now, we do have callers holding, and so we're going to get to you, Jeannie, especially. I know you're there, and others, and but it probably is going to have to be right after the top of the hour. Well, and let me just go back and say this one thing, Carolyn. We've always said magnesium because you are part of the Nutritional Magnesium Association. You're an advisor for them. And, you're trying to bring the awareness, that magnesium is important. So you got to hit that first base. But then, after that, you really want to narrow it down to the REMAG.
Yeah, and that was my life trajectory. Okay, let me do a couple more quick testimonials because we don't have time for a phone call. We use the REMAG, and my son's restless leg syndrome is completely gone. So glad it was recommended to us. We all feel better, including me and my husband. We don't have restless leg syndrome, but we have muscle cramps. Well, no longer. I ordered the RNA drops to help repair DNA. It's awesome. I already feel younger. Next, I'll order the Remite. I just sent the REMAG to my niece for her husband who has RLS, restless leg syndrome. I'm sure he will feel a major difference in a short time. My son felt the difference the first time he used REMAG. That's amazing. Okay. Yes, there's been a lot of back and forth on Facebook. There's someone who commented on one of our Facebook posts and said, magnesium is very laxative. And then someone else said, well, you're using the wrong product. Use REMAG, and it won't do that to you. she continued. Magnesium Remite is essential minerals. Check out the site to learn about all the products. Love, love. I, too, am amazed at how much more energy I have since taking Remag and Remite. Great products. Also, Remag lotion is terrific for my sore legs. Another Facebook. I believe one benefit I've seen is I no longer am a puddle of sweat all the time. As an obese and diabetic man, this was always a problem. My neuropathy is gone as well. So it just goes on and on. It just is nonstop love, love, love.
Nonstop success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so gratifying because people are so sick. I mean, it's just incredible. Everywhere I go, people are telling me how sick they are. And these are young people, old people, it doesn't matter. Food toxicity, so much. I mean, just so much going on. But we will resume. Hour 2 coming up. Hang on there. We'll take our phone calls in the next hour. You're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com.
After this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com. Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Think of something you hadn't had in a while, like a crazy Italian cream cake, and have it show up, and you not do a thing. You already think of people, and they ring you on the phone now, don't they? Well, reinforce that. And what you'll find then, very quickly, is that there'll be a little cadence. Now, that's a fun way of describing frequency. We call it frequency. And if you frequently get your frequency on, that'll help you in the aligning of frequency. Remember in the old days in the radio, you'd be driving along, and you'd have to have the knob, and you'd turn it to get it right on station so it'd be clear? Well, you were adjusting your tuner to pick up on that frequency completely. It made no difference how loud the volume was. You get it right on the station, get it right on, and then you could crank it up, and you can have it just as loud as you can stand it. But the easier way to go at this is focus on the frequency of your frequency, and then you'll notice a rhythm or a cadence. And then the rhythm or the cadence will allow you to easily identify and connect with that frequency, or allow your tuner to more easily hit the nail on the head.
AchieveRadio.com. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The Wellness Scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. The Wellness with Dr. D.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. And yes, Hour 1 was so robust. And for our listening audience all around the world, please, please take this to heart, because, you know, they're saying now that the new diabetes, type 3 diabetes, is Alzheimer's. And they're starting to show that Alzheimer's can be corrected with a ketogenic diet, which switches off the glucose, turns on the ketones, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to be wise, you know, in these days, and use our good information, the wisdom that we get from Dr. Dean, and then apply it, and then share it with friends and family, because there's just, you know, people all around are so concerned about their health and the future of their health, and there are solutions that are available, and we've got them, and we're sharing them, and we'd like you to share them too. Okay, Carolyn, you ready for some phone calls?
I can't let that go. I can't let the Alzheimer's go because I just sent in a blog to our web people on Alzheimer's, and Sayer G, his website, greenmedinfo.com, he wrote a paper, a report about Alzheimer's disease and pineal calcification. So nice. He's saying, it's pineal calcification. Of course, I deconstructed everything he wrote, and I said, well, that means magnesium deficiency. If you've got any organ or part of your body that's calcified, it means you don't have enough magnesium to dissolve that misplaced calcium. So, yes, the keto diet, and I put that at the end, that's the best diet for the brain, and take your Remag, and the other complement formulas are going to help too. But it's all about magnesium, I swear. It's just getting crazy.
Yes, and, let's just get down to the basics also of, if you weren't magnesium, look, there's a lot of people who don't have any problems. They eat whatever they want, and they don't have any problems at all. And maybe for whatever reason, they're not magnesium deficient. If you had appropriate amounts of magnesium when your body was first starting to go into this, insulin-resistant state, it probably wouldn't have happened. But you combine, like you said, the onslaught of all the sugar with no reciprocal magnesium, and there's your nightmare, disaster, and it's just continuing to escalate. So it is absolutely magnesium-related 100%. 100, yeah. Absolutely. Okay. I agree.
All right.
Okay, so let's – are you ready for phone calls?
Ready for phone calls.
Okay, here we go. Area code 301. Hello, Jeannie. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could state your name properly and then give your question or comment.
Hi, Carolyn. Dr. Dean, my name is Jeannie Heredia. What else was I supposed to say? I'm sorry.
Just ask that's okay, sweetheart. Don't be nervous. It's just talk on the phone with your friend Carolyn and ask her anything your heart desires. That's
my gosh. Okay, Dr. Dean. I'm 52 years old. I think at least 3 years ago I probably went menopause. I had my last kid at 46. I had 6. And weird things started happening. I think I'm putting it all together. Post-menopausal, probably 6 months, I had an incident where I needed a root canal, and I had a root canal done, but I was on 6 weeks of antibiotics, and that was in 2015 in the summertime. And then shortly after that, I had at least, and I kid you not, it felt like a month of constipation. I had a dysbiosis of my gut, my intestines. Something was happening, and then I would have distension and swelling with eating, and I got diagnosed with SIBO after the myriad of tests that you could get, colonoscopy, endoscopy, X-rays, ultrasound.
Wow.
And then I never resolved that. I still am struggling with the SIBO and constipation right now. Constipation wasn't an issue after that initial event. Like, it maybe sort of resolved after the first couple of – I've been on antibiotics at least 4 times for the SIBO since then. And but the constipation started in the end of 2017, severe again. But anyway, I wanted to tell you that after I found out I had SIBO, I had an event with my neck where I was having they found out that I had osteophytes at C4 and C3 because I had so much pain. It was a separate event, a separate crisis that was happening at the same time that my SIBO had happened, or at least afterwards, and I almost got fusion at my neck, and I decided to go for pain management, which was just 2 episodes of steroid cortisone to my neck area via the spine, and it resolved the nerve inflammation because there was a narrowing at the neural foramen. But anyway, I guess what I wanted to tell you is that I'm still struggling with the SIBO. I also have psoriatic arthritis. I have oral lichen planus, which is new. I feel like it's all connected, and I'm just so tired of nobody being able to help me, and the only thing that was the remedy was this antibiotics, and I tried at least $2,000 worth of herbal antibiotics since then, through that whole time, and I've had no resolution. And I'm going to Dr. George W.U. in Annapolis on Wednesday, and I'm hoping he can help me. Maybe he'll see that I have maybe the hypothyroid postmenopausal happened, or maybe I've always been hypothyroid because I always have had this.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, my turn.
Yes.
I got
your
the
turn.
picture.
Go for it.
Yeah, I got it. You've given me a good overview here. Well, I don't know how much you've read of our stuff, Jeannie, but...
a lot.
Okay, so I talk about total body meltdown, right?
Okay.
So that's what it is, total body meltdown. Yeah, but I think there's a real underlying yeast overgrowth. Have you treated for that yet?
No, and I never ever came across my radar with all the SIBO stuff I've read. It's never
right.
And just until I listened to Dr. Fit a few days ago. I had my husband listen, and so I understand that may be possibly what's going on.
It's definitely, even if you take one round of antibiotics, you throw off your intestinal flora. And what's happened in the medical community and part of the alternative communities, they latched on to SIBO, and they just talk about bacteria, and then they still go back to the antibiotics. But they're forgetting that as soon as you use antibiotics to kill off bacteria, you let yeast overgrow. And then it's the yeast that have the 178 different toxins. One of the toxins can cause symptoms of psoriasis even. So everything you've said, I'm looking at the underlying yeast overgrowth, and then even with the osteophytes, that's calcification in the wrong place,
right.
That causes inflammation and pain. That can be magnesium deficiency. Because with all the stress you've undergone, then you're going to have magnesium deficiency. This root canal business, it could have been a trigger. The way the Chinese medicine, the way they look at the teeth is they identify different teeth with different parts of the body. So sometimes when you have a problem with in one area of your mouth, it can trigger things in the body. I don't know.
So it was maybe before all the antibiotics. It was something was happening.
Yeah. And, to try to drill it down and find, what was the original?
Right.
We can't even imagine it. But, what I do know is your story is very much like, what would it be, Ginny? Maybe 80% of our population has your story, which, that sounds outrageous, but if you've listened to the radio show or the archives, you know what people are saying. And what happens is as soon as you throw one part of your body, then everything else tries to help out, and then it gets weakened. Like, you wonder about thyroid, you wonder about your adrenals. And what we do with our total body reset, with our protocols of minerals and dealing with yeast overgrowth and using the pico silver, is we just say, well, just take it all. We know you need minerals. Take them. We know you need a gentle detox. Take the Realign. We know you have yeast overgrowth, so do the yeast detox. And what you do before all that, Jeannie, and it sounds like you've done a lot of your research, but you read my book on the yeast, what is it, reset the yeast connection, and you read about REMAG, and you really get it clear that, oh my gosh, this sounds very plausible. Yes, nobody's looked at yeast. I wonder why. And, nobody considers the 9 minerals that the thyroid needs in order to function, for Pete's sakes. And nobody's mentioned that the psoriasis may in part be yeast toxins, where what happens there is these 178 different very serious yeast toxins, they'll start attacking different tissues in the body. And when the body's immune system tries to fight back, it ends up attacking the tissues. So you get this collateral damage. So it's very important to get yeast under control. It's not to kill every last yeast in the body, because we do need yeast, but you just sort of, you try to make peace with your yeast. So that's what I'm saying. It's doable, it's treatable, you have a focus now, the worst is over, and you just start seeing how you can get better, and using the support of our customer service and all the rest of it. I just say just start the treatment protocols.
Thank you, Carolyn. I will. I'm ready for healing, and like I've said, I've already spent. My husband's head is spinning. It's like all the money that we've spent out of pocket that is not through the health insurance.
Yep. Yep.
But
yeah, and $1 million. Yes, you're welcome. And the $1 million workup, and that no one even bothered to ask about yeast. I mean, it's very serious, this yeast overgrowth problem. And I've railed about the SIBO people who just look at the bacteria, and it's so distressing, because they have to acknowledge that this yeast is just, you see, it's hard to diagnose, it's hard to find, and also it is caused by allopathic medicine. It's a side effect of taking antibiotics, and maybe medicine doesn't want to acknowledge that, and it's just ignored it right from. Yeast overgrowth was discovered a year after antibiotics were discovered, or within the year. They knew right away that it was causing an imbalance. And in Europe, they do tell, apparently, doctors used to anyway tell people to at least eat a good yogurt when they took an antibiotic. But I don't, they're not doing that anymore. They're not telling people to take these probiotics. But anyway, that's enough to start with. If you just get on maybe start with the yeast protocol, that's the best way, because we do tell people to take the Total Body Reset products as part of the yeast protocol. Okay, Jeannie?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dean.
You're welcome. And yeah, be in touch with us, okay?
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, let's look and see where we are with our phone callers. 602-666-6027 is the number to call if you have a question or comment. We don't have any phone callers on, Carolyn, but I do think we should probably mention something about Prescript Assist. I can't believe I've not talked about it yet. It's been consuming my brain for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or you want me to say? Okay. Well, let me just say that Prescript Assist, if you've been listening to the radio show on a regular basis, you know that there has been a little controversy with the formula now for a while. And the controversy has escalated to the point that the company distributor has decided that they were not satisfied with the allergy testing, the testing that was done, raw material testing that was done, and they want all the product to be returned just for safety purposes. So we've had a recall on the Prescript Assist, and everybody's responded to that beautifully. All you have to do is email us at support@RNA Reset, send your empty bottles back, and we'll refund your money. The thing that people are really in a kerfuffle about, though, Carolyn, is what to do now until your formula comes, but they're not really too worried about prescriptive cysts. It's like, okay, it's like, well, I don't have any of those allergens. I've been taking it for years. Nothing's ever happened to me. I don't know what's going on. Now I'll send it back and get my $50 back or whatever. They're not really worried about it. But what they are concerned about is, what is Carolyn going to do next? What's your recommendation, et cetera, et cetera. So can you talk about that?
Right, and I let you start off because I was just Googling to get the list. Basically, the best probiotics or gut formulas are soil-based. So that's what you're looking for. And I see Dr. Axe has an SBO, soil-based organism probiotic. Dr. Axe, it's Axe. It's just called SBO probiotic.
And I know we've talked about recommending Restore, and we've also been recommending the Garden of
Life. Garden of Life Primal Defense.
Defense. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got Garden of Life Primal Defense. And then talk a little bit about your formula and when you think it's going to be ready.
Well, it will be a soil-based probiotic, and what we, I think prescriptive cysts, you can't really identify all the organisms in these soil-based probiotics anymore, so that's going to be a problem with all the soil-based organisms. So what we're doing is using a prebiotic, probiotic soil formula, and we're not going to list the bacteria in it. And it's going to give us an opportunity to also put in our RNA drops or our RNA powder to really enliven the formula. So actually what we've been really encouraged about our formulas and what they do for the gut, because we're doing farm experiments now. And the thing about the soil is it needs bacteria. So that's what we're doing with supporting our farmer here is making the soil so awesome that the plants are awesome and they're growing even in an organic biodynamic farm. The results are just out of this world. So it'll be soil-based. I really don't know when, so we have no problem giving other recommendations. Look for soil-based probiotics and see how you feel on them. I mean, that's what we have to do is try various what they call spore form bacteria. And I think people are still labeling them. The FDA will get after them, I'm sure. But in the meantime, just go for soil-based probiotics. I think that's as much as we can say, because I haven't tried any of these others. I still have some of my bottles, and I'm not returning them.
No, there's Dr. Dean and her rebellious self.
Yes.
Okay, let's or confident, either way. Probably confident and powerful is better like it. Okay, let me get some of these questions. I've just noticed that the chat line's been blowing up. Let me get some of these questions to you, Carolyn. Okay, So Shane's asking, why do you take more Remag when you eat dairy? Is it calcium or the yeast?
It's the calcium for me. Right away. I mean, when I used to eat a lot of yogurt, before I found the, Bob, will you mute? Before I found my list of lactose-free cheese, like if I eat, I think the lactose probably bothers me with cheese. So I eat lactose-free cheese, but it's high in calcium, and when I eat a lot of cheese or yogurt, then I'll start getting my heart jumping. So that's when I take extra Remag. I don't notice it. I don't take it for yeast. I didn't think of that, but that's a good point, too. Okay, next.
Excellent. Okay. let's see. Barb Litchfield types in and says, does the Pico Silver need to be taken on an empty stomach? I'm not sure if I start the day with the RNA drops or the silver. Is there a way to take these products together to make them more effective? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we might have put on the label something about take it on an empty stomach, but when I was doing mine 6 times a day, that wasn't going to happen. I think you can take it anyway. I take it with my other minerals. I don't even worry. I think we might change the label. We're running out of it, so we have to do a new batch, and I think we're going to change the label right away.
Okay, very good. Yep. Excellent. Very good. And let's see. Margaret, our very good friend Margaret Lee, calling in from Canada. Carolyn, good evening, Carolyn and Ginny. We began the Pico Silver June 29th, and we have had so many different amazing effects. Bill asks for his silver drink each morning as he is feeling so much better. We take 2 teaspoons 2 times in the morning, a half hour apart before our restructure breakfast. I am assuming we only stay on the silver up to a month. Bill, at 86, is really noticing his energy level increasing like he did after the yeast teeth detox and when we first started Remag. Maybe the 80s are the new 50s after all. Thank you, Carolyn, for another amazing product, Margaret and Bill.
Oh, well,
wow.
Margaret's awesome in her observations and then her testimonials and sharing. That's fantastic. And yes, 2 teaspoons twice a day for a month, that's great. And then you have to do your experiment, and we're making up the protocol as we go along. And I don't mean that facetiously. It's just everybody has different things to work on. So what I'm doing right now is my 1 teaspoon twice a day. And I might take a week off here and there, but I think I'm going to be taking 1 or 2 teaspoons a day, for a lot of days. And I'm saying to people maybe do it 1 week a month, but then you may find your week off that you'd like to be back on it. If you read the Silver Report that you'll see at Dr. Carolyn Dean Live on the home page, it's down a couple of notches. I wonder, is there a way if we can...
Yep, I can fix that, Carolyn. Yeah, I'll
put
fix
that
it
at the top, yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Staple it at the top of the page, because
yep.
we aren't allowed to say to people how awesome Pico Silver is. We can comment on people's comments, but if we have a third-party report, which is what this Silver Report is, then you'll get some good information and understand why we're so thrilled about it. Okay.
Excellent. Very good. Excellent. Okay, and then let's see. Claire is asking just for clarification. Hello, Claire. We love Claire. Claire's in North Carolina here with us, and she's just an absolute doll, and we just love having her around. Claire says, regarding the Alzheimer's conversation, even plenty of magnesium won't make up for too much glucose. Is that right? That does require a dietary change, just for clarification. So, Carolyn?
Yes, definitely. I know Bob likes to say if you're on all the products, especially RNA drops, you can eat anything you want. But I know myself, I've tried that experiment, and I did gain weight. And if I was happy with that weight gain, I would have kept eating, but I'm not. So that's why I got into the keto diet.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, let's see. And what other questions we have lurking here? I did post the Silver Report on the chat line, the link for that, everybody. So, and I will also post it in the archive for the show. And then let's see what, and then Claire and Margaret were having an exchange. So that's fine. And let's see what else. I think we're good. Oh, Super Dougie says, this is from earlier, when I place Remag in spring water, it tastes sweet to me. And I agree. I think Remag tastes sweet. And now water without any minerals in it tastes like flat. It tastes like putting a cotton ball in your mouth. It's so gross. And then Marie, our good friend Marie, Carolyn, you remember Marie? She has the cat that loves the Remag. Remember?
Yeah, in Australia, of course.
Yes, Marie's been listening for years. Yes. She says, I love all your products. But I don't use the Restructure any longer, even though it's great. I just can't tolerate that stevia taste in anything, really, for that matter. I've tried, so I'm going to have to find another product without sweeteners. Maybe someday you'll make it without the stevia. But I've lost 15 pounds since April 16th. I love the keto diet. I have 10 more pounds to go. I was eating healthy before, but insulin resistant still. So, Marie, definitely up your magnesium probably, right, Carolyn?
Yes. Now, what do you think about that? I know occasionally we get people saying they don't want any of the sweeteners. Are we ever going to try to make a Restructure without any sweetener?
I don't know. I mean, that's up to you. So many people love the taste of Restructure, and we do have one or two conscientious objectors like Marie, and I always, I feel bad because I would love everybody to love it as much as everybody does. But gosh, I mean, people use it not only just as a as a protein shake. People are baking with it, and they're making keto fat bombs with it, and they're doing so many, and they're using it in their oatmeal, and I mean they're just doing so many things with Restructure that's kind of like, geez, why tamper with perfection? Even though in Marie's world it's not perfect, and I understand that, but I don't know, Carolyn. What do you think?
Is she taking RNA drops, Carol?
Marie?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not.
That's a special product, and that can alter the cellular level and make you able to eat a lot of stuff you thought you couldn't eat. So if she's not doing RNA drops, do that. Because she's not going to find anything better than Restructure.
Right. No, I've over the years I've experimented with different protein powders, and some of them without the sweetener are pretty gross. Bob, mute.
We're in another dimension here. You enter our products, you go to another dimension. That's what's really going on.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's entirely possible.
Yeah. Will I do a mailbag?
Oh, can I just say one thing, Carolyn? This just occurred to me. She says it's the taste I personally can't stand. This is Marie talking about Restructure. The Restructure is a little sweet for Greg, but you know what he does? He puts his Remag in it, and it takes the sweetness right out.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. There's a solution.
Marie, if you have extra Restructure left over from before, or you want to experiment with it again, just email me, and I'll send you 1 or 2 packets with your next order. Put some Remag in it and see if that works for you. Now, you could type me back and tell me you've already tried that, but that might help cut the sweetness a little bit. But other than that, Restructure's Restructure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, she does take the RNA drops, Bob. So we'll just have to work on Marie. That's all, Marie. All right, very good.
Okay, so yes, this was another interesting battle on Facebook. Somebody had, I don't know, I couldn't find it. I was just getting the emails about it. I couldn't find it where it was on our RNA Reset Facebook page. But someone was saying that she had a terrible reaction to magnesium, not our magnesium, but she just really trashed magnesium. And someone said to try Remag. And she said, do you think I'm going to take any chance on trying anything now? Not everyone reacts the same way. Even Pepto-Bismol, with millions taking it, gave me terribly inflamed esophagus from my stomach to my throat for 12 hours. So, I mean, this is a person who she reacts to everything, and she comes onto a Facebook page and puts down magnesium because she reacted to it. So it looks like one of our customers said, what magnesium did you use and what other ingredients were in it? You could have been having an allergic reaction to a nasty preservative or food coloring. That stuff can hurt people. anyways, I would just like to say magnesium alone cannot hurt a soul. It's an essential mineral. Without it, we cannot digest our food. We cannot complete over 700 enzymatic actions in the body that are critical to good health. So please tell me again, how could something your body desperately needs, and it is documented that we need it, and can't do without it, everyone is deficient in it, you are doing yourself a great disservice saying all magnesiums are bad because you had a reaction to one unnamed product. Not all supplements are created equal. I wish you well. Take care. So that's kind of some of the customer service dialogue that our customer service has to put up with. But this, did you know this person, the one who made this comment, Emily? Is she a customer, Ginny?
No, I do not know. I do not know her. No.
Yeah,
I don't.
She gave a perfect response. But, this is where people in their less than state can have a terrible reaction, and then they want to blame everything and everybody. And that's, partly my kind of attack on forums where people of that sort of demeanor will get on and put down things or attack things, and other people are just there looking for information, and they don't know what's going on.
Take those now?
Yes, very good.
Okay. We're going to take a little walk down memory lane, I can see right now, as we go to the great state of Pennsylvania. Hello, hello.
Hey.
Oh,
hey.
No. Kendall, oh, my. Kendall's back, Bob.
I missed y'all. How y'all doing?
Listen, just great.
I promote Remag all day, every day to all of these sick people. It is a life changer. If I don't know what I would do without it, I just wanted to call in and let you all know I was thinking of you.
Oh, that's so sweet. We haven't heard from you in so long. And on our end, it kind of means, well, I guess she's feeling good. So
yeah, it does mean that. So to anybody out there listening, that's what it means. I do feel good. I have some relapses. And remember, I don't know if you remember, I told you that I think that I attribute it to just not knowing what exactly is draining my magnesium and gauging, trying to gauge when I need more opposed to when I need less. But when as soon as I know, all I have to do is put some on my chest. All I have to do is bathe in like the flakes. And, when I get out, I'll take the bottle that I use for my water. I'll just take some and put a little bit right there on my chest, and, it'll slow it down. I have woken up out of my sleep, like, pounding heartbeat, and scared, and literally I keep it on my nightstand. I put it on my chest, and I can fall right back to sleep.
Oh, that's wonderful. Carol, do you use the Remag lotion?
No, I'm using the concentrated one. I'm using this directly onto my, from the liquid straight onto my skin. Because I feel that's the most potent one.
Yeah, what I'm going to do, because you're so adorable, I'm going to get Ginny to send you a free Remag lotion for you to use.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
While I have you on the phone, I also wanted to know, what can I do in order, because I know I missed the one about panic attacks and anxiety attacks and stuff like that. What can I do to really, get rid of them, because they have not completely gone away?
Well, the next step, Kendall, is you really have to know what your body's trying to protect you from when you have an anxiety attack. And it's kind of a psychology, but it's also kind of a conflict, like the total biology we talk about, the conflict basis of disease, where somehow in your life you had an anxious period about something or regarding something. I give the example in my Magnesium Miracle book of someone has low blood sugar and they're driving across a long bridge and their blood sugar gets real low and the adrenaline comes out because of their blood sugar, but then they interpret the adrenaline reaction. The adrenaline pumps your heart and makes you a bit sweaty. It's a fight or flight. But then they misinterpret that adrenaline reaction as being afraid of the bridge, and then they develop that anxiety around bridges. It could happen for many, many reasons. Now, in order to, really dig into that, and it does mean an expense, that's where I do send people to our total biology guy, Dr. Holt, David Holt, to try to sort of drill down into what is the trigger mechanism. And it's not that. It's not psychiatry or anything. It's just how the body reacts under conflict, and then it drags that symptom throughout their life.
Yeah, that's exactly what's been happening with me. Yeah. And I haven't taken the kids. It's the summer. I feel so bad for them. Like, I haven't taken them anywhere because I'm like, every time I go out of my comfort zone, I do still have the panic attacks. But what the Remag has done for me has been a miracle. It has been nothing short of a miracle, because if it wasn't for the Remag, I would be in constant panic every day. I don't even remember what that feels like anymore. And I remember, you remember when I first was calling in, how I was always in panic. And I used to, Jenny, remember I used to always be like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the week. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't feel that way anymore. Yep, I feel so much better. And I owe it all to Remag. I really do.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hey, Kendall, where do you meet all these sick people?
Oh, you mean that she's telling about?
Yeah.
Telling
They're
about
everywhere. I wish you could come to Philadelphia. I really do. I wish you could come to Philadelphia and do a conference, because Philly, we have like cheesesteaks. We have a lot of people that eat really bad, and it's coming out in their, their system. My aunt, she was telling me about heart flutters that she's having because she had a hernia, and it caused her bowels to break, and she had septic shock, and she went into cardiac arrest. So now they can't get her heart rate, her rhythm under control. And I'm like, you need to look up Carolyn Dean, Dr. Carolyn Dean. I'm like telling everybody, like, y'all, if you want to get your health together, you gotta follow Dr. Dean and figure it out. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to email Dr. Holt, because in my total biology notes, I took some courses, but I'm not a practitioner. I'm wondering if there's somebody who's written something specifically about anxiety that in the total biology sense, because, I'm looking at my notes, and it can be what I have here is anxiety is a normal fact of the biological brain to keep us alert to stay alive. If something comes towards us and it's a predator, then we have to be on our guard. But if that reaction reaches an uncomfortable level, then it goes into sort of abnormal anxiety. It's too much. Some people have anxiety issues related to authority, which triggers a past authority situation. It's so individual. Like some of the conditions in total biology, I can say, oh yeah, the heart is this, or the breast is this, or the liver is this. But anxiety is like this pervasive thing, like he's saying. It's protecting us to a certain extent. We have to stay alert, but then we go into like overdrive. We become what we call hyper vigilant, and it's like you're always looking for the other shoe to drop. It's like you're always waiting for something bad to happen.
That's me. So they diagnosed me with PTSD.
Right. Okay. Then, Kendall, have you ever heard of the therapy called EMDR?
Never.
EMDR. It's let me see if I can define it here. It's an eye movement desensitization and reprocessing technique where therapists do it with you. And there's something in the way they tell you to move your eyes around that they specifically treat PTSD, military combat, physical attack, rape, car accidents, and they just process that out of the system. So look, put that down, EMDR.
Yes, ma'am.
And there should be someone in Philadelphia doing it, for Pete's sakes. And I know doctors who do it, and they do incredible work.
Okay. Thank you so much. I miss you guys. I'm so glad to talk to y'all.
Hey, Kendall. Margaret writes,
yes?
Margaret on the chat line says, oh, wow, now I know I've heard this lady before. Her voice sounds so different. It is wonderful to hear how she's feeling so much better with her heart issue. God bless you, Kendall.
Oh, thank you, Margaret.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So
it's like old home week with you back. That's so adorable. Okay, sweetie. Well, let us know if you can find someone with the MDR. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I will. I'll keep in touch.
Okay, great. Okay, hon. Bye-bye.
You guys be blessed. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, God bless.
Excellent. Okay, Carolyn, how are we doing with our mailbag? Do we have time for another call? Are we caught up, or what are we doing?
There's a neat testimonial here. A mom writes in. She says, I want to give you some feedback regarding using the Remag and Remite for my son who is XXY. XXY is a genetic condition. I think it's called Klinefelter, something like that. Yeah, Klinefelter syndrome, a set of symptoms that result from having two or more chromosomes in males. So it's a genetic disorder for sure. It's not a trait. Anyway, as a result of routine blood tests done when he was 2.5, it was discovered he had low thyroid function. I know he would be having another test in another 6 months. I was upset to think he may go on some sort of medication. Wanted to see if I could improve his thyroid function nutritionally. Dr. Dean responded personally. I decided to give him a small amount of Remite, a quarter teaspoon given his age, and a larger amount of Remag divided in the day, and some more Remag at night. I aim for 1 teaspoon of Remag. I'm happy to say I've just received the result of his latest blood test after 8 months of supplementing. His TSH levels are now well within normal range, and his free thyroxine is a little below normal, but it has risen from his previous low levels, so we're heading in the right direction. Of course, I've been told it's got nothing to do with the mineral support or the probiotics or diet, but who cares? Woohoo! Thank you. Isn't that awesome?
How old's the boy?
2.5. 2.5, maybe 3 now. So that was awesome. Okay, Ginny, let's. If you have a phone call, let's go to the phones.
Okay, excellent. Let's go out to area code 303. 303, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hello, lovely ladies. This is Michael in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, hi, Michael. Yes, Michael, I haven't gotten to your email yet. I'm glad you called in. Yes. Are you feeling any better?
Well, I wanted to give a thank you to you for referring Dr. Holtz. At first, I just kind of blew it off because it's like I've done so many crazy things in my life. And it's like, it just sounds like another thing. But I got desperate enough 3 weeks ago, and I just finished my 3rd session with him yesterday. And I can't, during the session, I can't really say anything. But then what transpired over, yesterday evening and then especially this morning, I had a bit of an emotional breakthrough. And without getting into all the details, this whole thing came up around, it's like there's somehow my system is attached to suffering.
Oh my God.
I think, I don't know. I'm still processing, but it was this wonderful emotional release, and it feels really important. And so I wanted to thank you for sharing that connection with him, because what he does is pretty funky, and even in my world, I do crazy body work, long distance, and that's pretty funky. But anyway, so I wanted to thank you and just give you a little update there, because it's felt like it's. I know that's why you refer people to him, is when the products don't seem to be quite breaking through to people's health. And so anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's just we know we're working on the physical end of the RNA drops, work on the mental, emotional, and all the rest of it. But if a person has some sort of block, they don't feel worthy of being healed, or who knows what it is. I mean, it sounds a little bit like that with you. It's and we've been told, I mean, how many people, even in our own customer service, the people who work with us or work in customer service, they've been light workers, they've been missionaries, they've been ministers like Ginny, trying to fix everything and thinking that was their way to their own health and freedom. But anyway, I'm going off at the mouth. I'm just so glad you called in right now, because I just referred Dr. Holt to Kendall. So
I know, I heard that.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to like my call, because this is perfect timing.
Yeah, it is perfect timing. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
okay.
I do have a quick product question. So I'm up to taking 4 teaspoons of the Remag, 2 of Remite, and I'm doing Realign now, and I'm just trying to get the RNA in. But and I keep playing on and off with the Recalcia, and I'm curious if you have ever had the experience where somebody is critically deficient in both magnesium and calcium, and if they really pump up their magnesium, have you ever seen an example? And their diet is pretty low, because I don't do dairy; it doesn't work for me. And I've looked at some of the charts online. It's like, boy, I don't think I'm getting a lot of or calcium. And I do bone broth, but even if you look at the tables there, the calcium content isn't that high. It's probably good calcium. Anyway, I'm just wondering, have you ever heard, or can you even speculate on, is it possible to throw things off because the ratio is so different?
I think it's possible. I mean, even the experience I talked about today, where when I eat a lot of yogurt or cheese, I need more Remag. So I know dietary-wise, but I have not been playing with the Recalcia in that regard. I just haven't been taking Recalcia because I do eat a lot of dairy. Now, I never used to.
But didn't you say at one time that when you weren't eating dairy, you started having knee pain, and the Recalcia helped that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know what to say. I mean, what if you just start yourself on a schedule and say, well, I'll take a teaspoon of Recalcia every second day, and not.
Well, I'm playing around with different things, and I took your advice, and I don't know if you remember, but I had the 3 knee fractures in my right knee. But I took your advice, and I've been putting magnesium on my legs, and I added in, I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago, I started putting the Recalcia on my legs as well. And then I'm playing with taking different amounts orally. But, I don't know if it was one of these things we never know with healing, but my knee has still been a little big, but just in the last couple days, it all of a sudden seems to have made an improvement. So it's one of those things. It's like, well, was it the recalcia or was it just time? But
I know.
Maybe it was the recalcia because I think I'm really calcium deficient too.
Right. Yeah, and it's, we've talked about this before, that when you start something, part of the reaction is the body just saying, "Oh, don't do anything," just don't even start, so that you don't know if your body's reacting against something as a, well, you know what I'm trying to say. It's just we have a hypervigilance about products and doing something. Like, you put so much attention into doing the research and making sure you're doing the right thing. Like, you approach things with a tension, and that tension can transmit itself into the reaction you feel when you take a product. So it is very difficult to tease that all apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing.
When there's already a lot of symptoms going on too. It's like, well.
Yeah. But I think you're doing yeoman's work. It is amazing, and I'm glad you're working with Dr. Holt and you're playing with your recalcia. You're doing the experiment. That's all you can do.
Yeah, and I mean that piece of information around suffering. I think it's the tip of a huge iceberg in my life. So yeah,
because you're a healer yourself. So it's interesting. Sometimes I think when I have my various this and that, I think, so am I going through this so I can learn from it, or is this what is going on here? And that can be part of it too. It's like, anyway, I think I'll let you go now.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, Michael, thanks for calling in. Glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
No, I love you too. Bye-bye.
Hey, Carolyn, can you finish a thought about light workers and all that? They've been life coaches. Are you saying that they come up against the individual sovereignty that will not ultimately get affected by someone else's advice?
No, it was more like people feel that to be a healer and help other people is the road to their salvation and their lack of suffering or their healing. And they find out it's not.
But why is that?
Because it's not.
Why? Do you know why it's not?
Will you tell me?
Well, I'm thinking of you can't give somebody something until you've got your own giving requirements happening to yourself. So they think they can give people something, but they actually haven't made themselves fully mature to then be indifferently helping people. Isn't it a kind of indifference when you help people?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the detachment or indifference.
You're indifferent. Like, you'll finish the show in a few minutes, and then you just totally forget everything you dealt with.
Yeah, but...
Then you bog. Then you don't. But
well, it's easier. It's so easy, as Ginny and I say, because we really see people getting helped. So it's a happy
So you
time.
don't feel, you feel complete at the end of a show.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of complete, we've got one more call to take before the hour wraps up. Let's try to get this person in. Another good friend of our show. Go ahead, please. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean, area code 808.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
What's your first name? First name. And we're not hearing you.
Hello, area code 808. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment. Okay, that is not working right there. And let's go out to area code 623. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment. Okay. No show. 2 no-shows. All right, very good. Well, then we got that taken care of. All right. Gosh, what a great show.
Oh, yeah. Only it's, 4 minutes. I guess we'll stop now, but what...
Why don't you explain more about this completion?
No. No. What I'm going to say is go to drcarolyndeanlive.com. I know people on chat have gotten the URL for the feasibility study of silver for use as a nutritional supplement. And it's going to be at the top of our webpage for a long time. Customer service will use it to send to people when they ask questions. Well, what is this silver all about? I think it's very important for people to get educated about silver, understand why they're taking it. So, very happy with that.
So people don't know. They think they have something to give. That's a big assumption people have, that if they feel pretty good about themselves, they think that they can spread it to someone else, and there's much resistance to that.
It might not even be that. It might be that people feel that's the way they have to get love or get godly, that service. I mean, how many cultures talk about that?
Well, that comes from incompletion.
Yeah, so it's not people who think they're healthy and happy and want to help. It's often people who feel incomplete and want to complete themselves by helping others. What would you say, Ginny? Ginny was in the game for a while.
Yeah, I'd say it's all a big scam. Take your RNA drops and ascend. That's what I say. Huh, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you liked it at the time, didn't you, Ginny? You had fun.
Oh, Lord. I'm glad we only have 39 seconds left. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dr.
You had a terrible life till you met me, Ginny.
I did. Now, that's a true statement. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you, Bob.
Ginny.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, listeners and callers.
Everybody. Thanks, everybody. Good night, everybody.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
You humans, you are marvelous creators. Marvelous creators. Every time they try to hem you up into a situation or a place of knowing that they are going to deplete you, they are going to eradicate you, they're going to move you into a non-existent